Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. It is July of 1943. On the Eastern Front, Germany has driven deep into the Caucasus and are on the verge of taking Baku, the primary city on the eastern coast of the Caucasus, as well as the final oil well in that vicinity, which would help to cripple the Soviet economy. Meanwhile, Soviet heavy tanks have been cut off without supply to the northwest of Poti and should be able to be destroyed next turn. German armor could advance to the Iranian border. We'll see how that plays out. Further north, you can see here that we have advanced Stalingrad-ish area, but it's mostly just infantry sort of holding the line until this southern position can be taken. The real goal, I think, may be to drive into Iran and take Iran, but I really would prefer to avoid opening up a front with India at this stage. So we'll have to see what makes the most sense here. Meanwhile, further north, we're driving east on Kuybyshev, the Soviet capital after the fall of Moscow. And while we're not there yet and probably won't be there for a few more turns, we're at least in the general vicinity, kind of ish threatening. We are driving north as well through some forest along the Volga north of Moscow. But I don't think I want to push too heavily there. I need to probably pull some of these armored units back, let the infantry hold a line, have the armor swing east, and take this area, because this area is much more favorable for tanks, given the open terrain. Meanwhile, we have several other armored units dealing with some partisans here in the rear, but they're going to speed east as soon as they can, as soon as we're able to deal with these partisans. And then in the north, the Soviets have kind of started launching an attack from Novgorod south into the sort of flank of the Caucasus, and we have at least reinforced the area with a cavalry division and a heavy tank division to hopefully stunt the Soviet advance. We'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the one big defeat was the fall of Finland the last turn or so, and theoretically that could open up an invasion route down the... Actually, we should do this. Let's operate these guys to Atla. Could open up an invasion route down into the northern tip of Norway, but we'll at least move some German troops there. And I think that's going to do it for the East Coast explanation. We've abandoned North Africa. We may hold Cairo one more turn. We may lose it next turn. We'll see. We took Egypt from the British, but we had to pull troops out, which are now here in Thessalonica and in Brindisi. And we've also moved some of those troops into the Caucasus in order to reinforce the Russian front. The reason we did that is the Americans are rolling east through Libya, and there's not much we can do about it. So really the goal has to be to try and delay these guys a little bit, but really at the end of the day it's about getting the troops away from total destruction, which the Americans would certainly visit on them in short order. The Mediterranean fleet for the Germans and Italians have been destroyed. The Atlantic wall is weak as hell, and that's the situation in France, so let's hope that the Allies don't invade France anytime soon. That's the situation in Germany. In Argentina, who has joined the war on the side of the Axis, we just took Porto Alegre and driven the Brazilians from that base. In the next 4 or 5 months, hopefully we can take Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro and knock Brazil out of the war and maybe give a little bit of an economic boost to the Germans with the capture of Brazil, if at all possible. I don't really know how much strength Brazil has. Meanwhile, in China, we have taken the second Chinese capital at Langkao and are now driving west to Umrichi, which is the final Chinese capital. We've started pulling troops back from this advance. There's a lot of infantry here advancing with the air units as well. We've started shifting some of these troops south to deal with the British invasion through India and Burma into southern China, although this invasion's largely kind of lost its steam. And then in the Burma region, we've just taken Mulman and are starting the drive on Rangoon while we're trying to bring the fleet back over in this general vicinity to bring it up to strength to deal with the British Navy in India. Okay, and that's the situation right now in the Pacific Theater as well. We haven't really seen anything from the Americans yet. Actually, did this guy move already? Yeah, he moved slightly. I think what we're going to do in the next turn or two is we're going to see about landing some troops near Kukum and see if we can take the Solomon Islands, which I'm assuming would trigger an American response. But I'm not really sure, because all we've seen in the Pacific is a few destroyers. We haven't really seen the American carriers or anything like that. We have reinforced Taro, we've reinforced Kwajalein and Eniwetok, so that first island chain out, kind of out there, if you will, is defended. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. And we have some infantry on board these transports that'll try and take Guadalcanal next turn if the Americans don't move against us. So with that being said, I think that about does it for this episode. Or not this episode, sorry, we just started. But we're ready for the Allied turn. So let's go ahead and jump in, and let's see what happens. Finland's surrenders hits German national morale, as to be expected. Partisan activity in North... Oh, shit. I didn't know there could be partisans on the island of Borneo. Syria's swinging a little bit more to the axis, but I think that'll probably swing back the other way in the event that Cairo and Egypt fall. Because they really went pro-axis when Egypt fell. If we had stuck around for a couple more turns, we might have been able to get Syria in and then crushed the British in Palestine and Jordan. I'm not quite sure how realistic that was, though. So Tripoli's fallen. I don't know if there's a capital of Italian Libya. There's no city on the map that says capital, but if there is one, I would expect it to be Tripoli. Meanwhile, the Soviets are moving a lot of troops around via rail. I heard from someone the other day that AI movement of troops by rail is free. Which, if that's true, that's a little disheartening and kind of sad. That'd make me a little bit frustrated. It's one of those things where it's like, all right, I get when a game legitimately beats me or the AI does better than me, that's one thing. But when the AI gets to play by a different set of rules, that's always a little bit frustrating. Soviets moving south on Grozny, trying to sort of pinch off this salient we have driving toward the coast of the Caspian Sea. Fortunately, they didn't do any damage to the headquarter unit there, and we can move our armor in next turn to hopefully kind of teach those infantry a lesson. British aircraft carriers in the Bay of Bengal are attacking our German submarines operating in the region. So they do have aircraft carriers there, which means we probably don't want to move our fleet forward until we get all of it in the area. You can see British bombers attacking Cairo. I'm assuming that infantry corps will attack as well. I don't think the British have more than just the one infantry corps there, so that should spell good news for us, hopefully. Meanwhile, Soviet bombers attacking our troops near the Baltics. British bombers in China. Soviet bombers south of Kubjev. Soviet cavalry, by the way, driving west out of Vornozov. They're attacking our infantry there. I really think we might be just better off having a defensive infantry line north of Moscow and moving all of our mechanized troops to the plains near the second Soviet capital, but I'm not sure. There's an intriguing chance to pocket at least 2 Soviet units. One of them would have supply through the city, at least temporarily, but the other, the cavalry division, could be cut off. Pinched off and destroyed, hopefully. More Soviet attacks into the Baltics. That didn't go very far, though. There are parachute troops. Alright, so that corps of infantry attacked. It did some damage at Cairo, but it didn't take the city. So unless they have additional soldiers, which is certainly very possible coming in from the Middle East, then we might actually hold. Meanwhile, heavy Soviet pressure on this infantry corps here to the east of Pskov. We'll pull it out if it survives. Also heavy pressure on this German army to the south of whatever the name of this town is. We'll have to pull that back and move this, is that a Romanian or Hungarian army forward? They have level 2 infantry weapons, though, so even though they're not Germans, they should be just as effective. Uncertain on the difference in experience, though. Okay, we'll have to see what happens in China here. We're going to be at the end of August, so we're kind of getting to the end of the good weather season. Alright, so that mechanized unit drove back our garrison force, but didn't actually destroy it, interestingly enough. We'll see if we can reinforce that garrison in Shirti, and maybe it can hold out for a little bit longer. Again, all the delay we can force on the Allies in North Africa, the better. The longer they are stuck fighting in North Africa, hopefully, the less likely an invasion of Italy. Or at least less, maybe there will be more of a delay, I don't know. Alright, so the strategic bomber probably hurt its supply a bit, but didn't destroy it at least. I mean, Benghazi could be a capital too, but it doesn't say it's a capital. So that's the weird thing with Libya in this game. It's like the one colony or province that doesn't seem to actually have a capital. Ah, crap. There was an additional mechanized unit that was able to reach our core. We'll see if they attack twice. So there's a large Soviet force north of their new capital. That's for sure, but I haven't seen much in the capital. It's interesting. British armor coming up south near Elagala. They're going to cut off that Italian garrison unit. Moving a bunch, or placing new units. American cruisers near Malta. I'd love to destroy another American naval unit. As much damage as I can inflict on them as possible is ideal. We did damage some of their battleships. I think we actually sank a battleship, and we definitely, or maybe we just sank 2 heavy cruisers in the North African campaign. Second garrison suffers attrition damage. So do these tanks. Italian morale suffers for the loss of Tripoli. Alright, so we still have Egypt, at least for one more turn, as this turn comes to a close. American fighters. British Corner Maidstone. The 11th German Army has arrived. We shall place them near the Russian front, and they will rail to the relevant facilities. Likewise, the Italians are going to position themselves at Trieste, and they're going to rail to the East Front as well. So those are going to be welcome additions. Okay. Alright, so that Soviet armor, no supply. And our paratroopers... Oh, come on, guys. They couldn't finish him off? Really? Actually, let's undo that. Let's have our artillery bombard and hopefully hurt this Soviet corps here north of Grozny. Since it can't actually bombard the troops near Baku this turn, we can move our armor in behind it and cut it off. So it should be without supply next turn. And I don't actually even want to attack it in that case. I'll just leave it to starve. These are strategic bombers against Baku itself, I think. These are Stukas here too. Our mechanized infantry can attack there. Our armor can't quite make it there. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. I'd rather reinforce and get them back up to full strength, but we can't quite do that. Damn. Are there any partisans around here? One there, one there. Let's actually fly these guys down to Tbilisi. God damn it. Alright, so they've got an army near whatever this town is. Probably should have just moved the armor into Tbilisi to protect the flank. Alright. So I know this is going to put me adjacent to his unit there that can attack us, but I want to make sure that he doesn't get a free shot back at the oil field. So hopefully that allows us to do that. Ideally, the artillery would have moved in range. Oh, it's in range of this guy, so we'll see. We destroyed this guy pretty good, so it'll be at least fresh and green troops that'll we'll be dealing with. Hopefully, these guys will have no supply, and they'll just stay here, and they won't be able to get anywhere. That's the objective there in the south, anyway. Meanwhile, this infantry unit can take large numbers of reinforcements, but it'll be exposed to counterattack. It is an army. It'll lose 50% of its experience, but it'll still be an experienced unit. Did it just lose some of its weapons, though? That was different. Why are these guys so tough? Nice! Got him. Alright, so that army advanced. These guys have cut off the city. Alright. How do they not kill him? How far? We can move these guys down the rail line this way. They'll take Tula. Meanwhile, on the other end of the front. Question is, what do we want to do with their armor? If I can, I'd like to destroy this armored unit. Yeah, interceptors. I've got escorts. We're all good. Wow, they lost 50% of their squadron at least. It was a heck of a bombing raid there. More interceptors. I'd rather not bomb with them. Oh, nice. There we go. Enemy destroyed. Danger, Will Robinson. Destroy. Alright, so we got him. Part of me wants to shift these guys south. They could really use reinforcements. But they really can't benefit from it without being closer to the south. Alright, so these two air units have used... No, this one's still alive. Interesting. Shit. Hey, we drove the mechanized troops out. These guys haven't attacked yet. We'll attack that headquarters unit. There you go. Nice. Well, it wasn't quite my end goal, but it served a purpose, I suppose. Wow. I'll take that. Alright, so doing a little bit of damage here. I'll have to pull these guys back for sure. Why can't these guys do any damage? My heavy tanks can't do jack diddly. Alright, guys. Just chill. That's good, I guess. Alright, you're gonna pull back. Okay. Just don't want to get the cavalry cut off there. And I have no desire to continue attacking along this front. So we're doing our job. We've driven back some infantry. We've sort of pursued them. We've threatened the headquarters unit here. And we're holding down here. So that's all we can really ask for right now. Didn't we just, like, deploy a new unit? Like right here? Oh, yeah, they're right there. All right, meanwhile, we've got additional troops to the west. Alright, so we're moving some of our mechanized troops that away. These guys already moved, so we can move them here. These troops need to reinforce, and they're super close to a bunch of headquarters, so they can actually reinforce fully. We're going to move... Is this guy in a city? I'm going to move him to the front. Do we want to reinforce these guys if we can, or do we want to wait? Kind of feel like we should wait. Interesting that the city itself, I mean, I guess they do have a shit ton of infantry down here. Wow. 3 casualties without losing any? And 3 more. There you go! Alright. Destroyed 1 Soviet infantry unit to the northwest of Kuvizhinev, or however you pronounce the name of that city. Our armor should start to arrive in the next turn or so. But that's always good to see. I'd like... Can these guys do anything worthwhile, or should we hold off? These fighters, let's reinforce them. Honestly, I think it's better off reinforcing these fighters than bombing someone that's not going to really suffer for it. So we'll go ahead and reinforce them. These guys already did their bombing raid, so we'll advance them 1 hex to get them a little bit closer. We'll advance all of these guys down this way. We'll keep 1 guy up here. We'll reinforce him to full strength. So he's going to provide combat air patrol near the city. These guys will advance 1 hex just to try and provide a little bit more of a uniform front. The front near Moscow is pretty weak, especially with all these mechanized and armored units in the rear. But the hope is the terrain and the relatively high quality of the troops prevents anything bad from happening. I guess we'll find out if that's a good assumption or not. Meanwhile, I'm going to move... I think I need to move 1 of these headquarters units. Actually, we should move 2 of them. Okay. Where is there... Spends 50 points to operate these guys? It's not even worth it. Be great if I could, like, fast move them. Let's pull these troops back a little bit. We're going to build a uniform front along this line. Okay. That's good. Kind of want to move this guy east to see if we can threaten their rear a bit, pull them south, but that may not be a good idea. we'll see if they evacuate Sevastopol. That would be great. Shit. Shit. Alright, so this headquarters guy is going to move here to be adjacent to Rostov. It's going to move here. He'll deal with these two partisans. There's already one here. No one's in Malkop. Wait, so from he can adjacent and he can adjacent. So actually, we'll move the fighter unit south to Malkop. So we've got one to here and one to here. One to here, one to here. Here. Krakow. Very nice. All over there. Gormel, that's adjacent. Let's at least put him on the rail line, though. He's adjacent to those two. No one is adjacent to this X. Now he is. Alright, so that should do with all of the potential for unrest. This turn in the Soviet Union. Very good. Meanwhile, let's move some of these guys that we had moved to deal with the commando raids to the front in the east. We'll move one of them to kind of be a reserve near Moscow to make sure that capital doesn't fall. And then we'll move one to deal with the advance in the new Soviet capital. And I think that's about it for them. Fuck. Let's not do that. Okay. What do we want to do in North Africa? Do we want to reinforce this guy? Might as well. Max reinforce for him. Max reinforce for him. Alright, so the two garrisons may die next turn. We'll see. Meanwhile, we've got one more infantry corps available. We will rail them. I mean, my goal is to pull as much armor out of this area as possible and drive them east to the Volga. But, yeah. So if I can free this armored up, the 1st Panzer tanks, I'd love to. In fact, now that we moved all those additional infantry in, maybe we should just move them. I don't like opening up our headquarters unit, though, to having its base itself exposed. They would have to move through a forest, though. They'd be pretty easy to counterattack. Why is there a garrison unit in Copenhagen? What's the point of that? These guys to France. We have any other units here? These guys are from another headquarter unit. The Italians have so many goddamn headquarters, but not actually that many troops that need headquarters. Probably should have left them in Italy to be the headquarters for the Italian army. That would have been the smarter thing to do, I guess. Alright. That does it for this front, I think. So these guys should start losing supply next turn. They do generate a little bit here, so I think they only lose 1 per turn, but nonetheless, being cut off can't be good for morale. All of our armor over here already moved. We destroyed 1 Soviet unit in the general vicinity. Soviet are not, they haven't been getting any new units lately, which is interesting. So I guess that's good for us. Hopefully they continue to weaken, because they're another couple of units weaker than they were last time. Meanwhile, the guys to the north have slightly better supply. Okay, let's use a fighter to finish him off. Alright, another Chinese unit destroyed there. And of course, no one can march that far. It's gonna be slow fucking going here in China. We'll just try and obliterate everything in front of them then. Probably should also start moving troops south to deal with the British. Wouldn't be a bad idea to start doing that sooner rather than later, I don't think. Oh, wait, this guy can move there. Got him! Of course, no one can move far. Oh, this guy can. Yes! Alright, so we took this city, which will cut the supply out from this guy. And then we should be able to start rolling west. Meanwhile, I think that kind of told us... First off, this headquarter unit goes there. I think that kind of told us, like, a lot of these guys aren't really needed up here. So... my understanding is sort of force marching does kill your morale a little bit. So we need to be a little bit careful with that. Wow. Our garrison units just ripped those special forces apart. Nice. Okay, that Chinese headquarters. These guys down here. So some of these guys are going to move south. I don't actually know where all the partisans are. What the hell? I just got a random, I think, subscription or follower on my Twitch channel. Sorry for that random noise there, guys. Alright, actually, we're going to advance him toward whatever that city is. It's another advance route rather than funneling everybody through the north. Should have good supply, even though some of these are in weird terrain positions, because they're all more or less adjacent to a headquarters unit, or very close to being adjacent to a headquarters unit. I think all of these guys attack. This guy can still attack one more time, but all he's probably going to hit is the supply. I wish strategic... Oh, wait, no, he did. All right, nice. He hurt the actual unit. Score one for the good guy. Alright, and then we'll move a headquarters unit forward to this town, leapfrogging forward as soon as we get there. Meanwhile, China feels doomed, barring some massive revolt in the rear, which is always certainly possible. But I think the challenge with China is going to be keeping, one, the momentum, and two, being able to get that deep. Logistically, it's going to be a challenge to get that deep into China and not get overwhelmed by the terrain and supply challenges. Meanwhile... the Japanese Navy is reinforcing itself this turn, and in the next few turns, we'll hope to launch a massive counterattack against the Allied forces in the Indian Ocean. I don't know why I'm talking like that. It's a weird thing to talk like. our ships forward into the Indian Sea. These guys are all ready at full strength. These guys, aircraft, need additional reinforcements. Most of the units are actually at full strength. It's just a matter of the aircraft. Losing 40% of our air experience. That's concerning. That guy's going to upgrade its air arm. Destroyer. Upgrade your naval weaponry and anti-aircraft. Battleship. Do you have anything to upgrade? No, you don't. Alright, well, let's sail you. Okay, that was a long haul there for that ship. Can't actually upgrade in this port. Lovely. Well, where can you upgrade, sir? Probably at Cameron. Cameron Bay. Cameron Bay. Wherever it is. Alright, so let's see about landing on Guadalcanal. I don't think there's anything there. So I think we'll do this. I don't know if I can get to the port. Are we at war here? Oh, there is a garrison. Fuck. Fuck, there's a garrison! Now I'm not going to have any supply here. Shit. I didn't see anything. Oh boy. Well, the Battle of Guadalcanal is going to start and we're going to have supply issues just like in real life. Joy. Happy, happy. We're going to operate these fighters. Oh, shit. That's a lot of money to operate those fighters. We are not going to operate those fighters. I'm just going to fly them slowly there. Alright. Yeah, so maybe we just touched off the Battle of Guadalcanal and we're nowhere near ready. Navy's on the wrong side of the ocean. You know, stuff. Ah! Why would their cruiser be so good? Part of me just wants to send our battle fleet in and destroy this guy, but that seems like the rash and unwise move that I would make. I don't know why I moved that armor there. That was probably a bad move. Really need to get this headquarter unit over to Molman. These guys are going to Bangkok. Yeah, I probably shouldn't take too much in the way of damage bombarding the shore. Just given that we know the enemy fleet's nearby. But we should just have hurt their supply and morale, so that's good. Maybe it'll cause the British to pull back. I don't know. The terrain here in southern China is so frickin' difficult to manage. Alright, so we've started pulling troops back in China. We've landed, probably unwisely, on Guadalcanal. Can we upgrade our... Why would we do that? That seems like a lot of money for not much gain. Alright, so... Yeah, alright. I think that's going to do it for this turn. Not a lot else to do. I probably should pull some of these airborne units. Or maybe additional... transports. See if we can get them south. I really shouldn't have used transport. That was unwise. Can we... I want them to be an amphibious, not transports. They need to be able to land on a hostile beach. Well, that reminds me. what are we looking at partisan-wise here? Nothing in Brunei? Alright. Can we... I don't have enough money left for that. Well, in that case... Fuck! Is this ours? Yeah, it is. Okay. Alright, well... We'll just head this away then. At least to the port of Rabaul. And we'll figure out what we do next turn. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for this episode. I think we do need to buy some stuff. So Germany didn't spend a lot on new units here. I'd love to not have to wait forever for more tanks. I'd also love to not get shitty tanks, which these appear like they would be. Tactical bombers. We can't afford good ones. Got a pretty good army, though. We don't need this. Alright. Alright, we'll buy another army. We'll at least give it some air defenses. Alright, so Germany just bought another army. Italy has $250. What do we want to spend that on? We can spend it on a bad army, because it can't upgrade. We can spend it on tanks. But we can't upgrade either, because we don't have enough money, so they'd be bad tanks. Fighters would be bad fighters. Garrison would be bad. Heavy or light cruiser would be bad. Maritime bombers? They'd still probably be bad. Not as bad, but still bad. Alright, well, I guess in Italy's case, maybe we're just better off not buying anything at all. Diplomacy, where's Syria at? Are they 71? They are 71, so they did actually move one direction that way. Well, in the odd chance that Italy's actually gonna, or Syria's gonna keep moving that way, I guess we'll encourage them. Let's advance these guys towards Sao Paulo. The garrison here will finish off these Brazilians. And our headquarters unit will keep close behind as the garrison holds down Porto Alegre, or however you pronounce it. I probably should start advancing, too. If there's an amphibious invasion in our rear, they'd probably go for Buenos Aires anyway. Alright, so we're advancing on the secondary supply of Brazil. Yeah, so I think I didn't want to forget Argentina. I didn't. I shouldn't forget northern Norway. And I shan't. Alright, there you go. Part of me wonders if we should re-invade Finland and take Petsamo. But that may be a little bit too far. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode. We'll go ahead and pick this up next time. But until then, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching once again. And until next time, I'm out.